Okay, let's have a conversation. Let's have a talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a talk. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me for another episode of Community Gems. This is a new series that we're going to be starting in which your input is a part of the conversation. I think we've been having we've had so much content over the years that was always about what was on my mind and the things that are going on. I'm going to definitely share some thoughts on the topic that's here, but we're here to switch gears up, and I want to hear more from the community. So that being said, let me make sure I first acknowledge the community. Ronnie Lowe, Free World Music Group, Pearl, Muhammad, Notorious, Minds, Killer Nuts, Viral Beats. Yeah. So we're gonna have a mature discourse today. Today's conversation is not meant for any debate. It's not meant for any argument. Here's the truth of the matter. And let me turn the music off of this actually. Here's the truth of the matter. What's going on with you, Courtney? Here's the truth of the matter. I have been someone that has been first a fan of hip hop culture for over 30 years now, right? First a fan, then I became a contributor to it as an artist and a music producer when I was 17. And in this time period that I have become a fan, I've seen many of the most inspirational artists, at least for my music in particular, have their lives cut short due to homicide or just violence that circulates around the culture. And it almost seems like it's the same pattern that a lot of us go through, in that we mourn them. We talk about things that need to change. And then, as sad as it sounds, we kind of move on with our lives. We still honor them, but we kind of move on with our lives, and then the culture goes right back to it. This conversation is not meant to be judgmental to anybody in here who listens to any kind of particular type of music, but something about the most recent loss of Takeoff, and I'm not here to act like I'm some huge fan of the Migos. I've done like reaction videos on here to their project, Culture, but like, it's not even about that. It's just a matter of, it seems like the most dangerous job these days is to be a high profile rapper. And it just continues to dawn on me how, in the midst of us going back and forth between mourning an artist, first becoming a fan of an artist, right? Becoming so interested in their story, falling in love with their music and the personality and their interviews, and then just losing them to something that's just like that, they're gone. There's been so many bright minds that I wish I would have had an opportunity to be a fan of when they were here, like Triple X Tentacion. I saw so many things. There was interviews afterwards. Somebody else that was gunned down. And Draco the Ruler is another one that I didn't quite understand the energy when he was here, but after hearing his story and kind of listening to the things that have happened to him in his life, it's one of those things where it's like, man, I wish they were here to speak for themselves. Tupac, Biggie, I mean, those are the probably the biggest ones in our culture. But I've gotten to a place now where, fam, I don't know if I can continue personally to keep going in the same rotation. Be a fan, love the music, watch them get gunned down, and then go back to listening to the music that for the longest I felt like it was a scapegoat to blame hip hop music, right? There used to be like hella debates in the early 2000s where you'd bring on rappers and like politicians on TV, and they would debate whether music was the reason why things are the way that they are. And of course, me being somebody who loves hip hop music, hip hop culture, contributes to it, creates it, I was like, there's no way in hell. The first thing that we would do is defend the music by saying, well, do you say the same thing about movies? As I get older now, I'm 37 now, and I was probably like the 17-year-old me that was defending it like that. As I get older, it becomes tremendously hard to ignore and defend some of the crazy shit you hear in the music. And I can't help but see a connection between the nature of the music, the mantras we say to ourselves over and over again, and not even just the artists saying it about their own life, because a lot of folks don't really even live those lives, as we come to find out. It's just entertainment. But the mantras of, for those who don't know what a mantra is, you say something over and over and over again. It's almost like positive affirmations. It's like words that you say that start to become a part of the way that you think about the world or see the world. And I started realizing like a lot of the music that I was listening to was ignorant as shit in the gym, because I felt like I needed a certain type of energy. And I'm at a place now where it's like I'm really I'm really paying attention to everything that I'm listening to, right? Social media, movies, books, anything that I feel like is going against my ultimate productivity, my ultimate growth as a man, as a human being. I can't rock with it the same way, because I just know once it sits in your brain long enough, you kind of start justifying a whole lot of stuff that you shouldn't. But I'm interested where you guys are at with it, because I'm at a point now where it's like I started clearing out music out of my playlist today. I was in the gym, and I was just hearing certain lyrics that didn't really feel anything to me before. That it's just lyrics, right? It's just music. That's what I always said. And it just started feeling different, because I'm like, bro, so many of the rappers in my playlist are dead. That's fucking wild. Like, almost, not even exaggerating, about 70% of the rappers have either been shot before, have either been shot or killed. And it's not even that I don't want to support them and their families and their estates, but dog, what changes? What changes if nothing changes? And I don't know how accurate the stats are, and I hope I screenshot it. It's the last thing I'll say, because I want to hear from the community. I'm going to put up a Zoom link so you guys can join in on the conversation. But someone left a comment on one of these videos about Takeoff, and I'm going to butcher it. I don't even want to give the stats if not going to be right, but it was something along the lines of, it was like only 15 high-profile homicides in hip-hop throughout the 90s, and like the numbers got eclipsed in the first early 2000s. And then now, within this last 2 years, it's eclipsed even that early 2000s number. It's wild. And for a culture that I love so much, I don't know how much I can kind of like turn a blind eye to the stuff that I'm listening to anymore. I don't know if that's just age. I'm really curious to hear what my younger audience feels like, how you're interpreting, how you're kind of bringing that in, because I know a lot of y'all struggle with anxiety, overall social pressures, and you're in a much different world than I was in. So that being said, I want to drop this Zoom link, and I want to hear your thoughts about if hip hop music needs to grow up, or if you think that it's good as it is. There's no wrong answers here. The whole purpose of this is really just to strike up a much needed conversation. And so let me go ahead and drop this Zoom link, and let's talk about it. All right, cool. So I just dropped the Zoom link here in the chat. Feel free to jump in there, and I'll bring you on camera. You don't have to be on camera. We can obviously just use your profile picture in there, but it's time to hear from the community. I know at some point I had to grow up, right? I had to take accountability of the things that I listen to. I had to take accountability of the effect that it may be having. I had to admit that it's not just harmless stuff. If the words I say to you can have an effect on your day, why can't the music that I listen to that is catchier, that is louder, that sticks with you longer than mere words, how could that not have a stronger effect on you? And how could that not attract a certain type of personality and character that'll pop up everywhere you go? Because it's almost like your music is a megaphone to the kind of folks who relate to it. So the Zoom is now open. Thank you, Courtney. Courtney, you the real MVP. You the real MVP. Let me play a little something in the background while we at it. So we just waiting right now for anyone. There we go. 3 people have entered the room. Actually, I'm going to start with a name that I already do know. Madden Gamer. Come join me in here. Let's chop it up. Madden Gamer, Madden Gamer, Madden Gamer. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Connecting to audio now.
Hey.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Kurt.
Can you hear me?
Hey, Kurt.
Yes.
I can hear you, Kurt.
How you doing, fam?
Good.
It's good to hear a voice to the name that I've seen here many of times. Super dope. So let me ask you this. First of all, I was going to say, if you don't mind, turn off the audio in the background just a little bit, or turn it down just a little bit, just so we can make sure we don't hear too much of feedback from me. One of me is already enough.
It's from the TV. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, if you could just turn it down, you should be good.
I just muted it.
Okay.
And I see you.
Sweet. So, what do you think, man? Do you think that hip hop needs to grow up? In light of, yeah, for sure. Go ahead. And
absolutely, because the accountability is not there, and we're losing way too many people to the game. Way too many.
What do you think is the biggest contributor of lost life? Do you feel like it's because the devil's advocate argument has always been the music is a reflection of the environment. And so if you're angry about the things that you hear in the music, then you're truly angry about what's going on in the environment.
Yes,
but
I agree.
Right. So what are your thoughts just on that devil's advocate argument?
That violence perpetrates violence. And if it does perpetrate violence, it's hard for me to say, let's see, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the violence that perpetrates in that music, it carries over to real life, as it should.
Right. Yeah, and it's wild to me that, I mean, I've heard scholars talk about this. I've heard rappers that we all respect and love talk about, like, how, no, you can't blame, if you blame the music, then you got to blame the movies as well.
It's like when people blamed Mortal Kombat when it first came out.
Right.
Oh, it's that bad. It was really that bad. But no, it's not. I play Mortal Kombat myself. Right. I don't see nothing wrong playing Mortal Kombat, but in violence and rap music, it hurts me when some rapper that I love dies. It really does.
When was the last time it happened that it was a rapper that you were a big fan of that we lost?
Oh my God. Well, I have an older brother. His name is Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Brian listened to Ray, is a Notorious B.I.G. fan, right? However, he came home from school and he turned on MTV. Found out that Biggie was dead, and I saw this dude sobbing.
Wow.
Grown man sobbing. He didn't want to play Ready to Die anymore because of it.
Yeah. I mean, the title of the album alone, man, that was always something that was really haunting to me, is how these situations play out where that your last album is called Ready to Die, right? Triple X Tentacion's last video is him fighting himself out of fighting a version of himself out of a casket. It's almost like self-fulfilling prophecies to a certain degree.
Yeah. those prophecies are real, and we bound them as demons every day.
Right. Well, let me ask you this: why do you think that it's something that affects hip hop in the way
It
that it
affects
does? Because well, the last part of that question is, I'm taking silence in between. My bad. Why do you think it?
Go ahead.
Why do you think it affects hip hop disproportionately to other genres that also talk about violence? Somebody just mentioned rock music. They mentioned, there's there's other genres, punk rock, that
Don't forget the death metal, Curtis.
death metal, right? So why do you think that it disproportionately has that effect if it is coming from the music in hip hop?
It begins at the home. It begins with the family.
Right.
Some of them rappers have single parents, and they didn't have any father there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing your thoughts. We got a few more people in here, but first and foremost, it's a pleasure to finally get to talk to you, man.
Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you. All right, so that's Madden Gamer, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and see who else we have within this. Muhammad Did It. Let's talk to Muhammad Did It. Always good to get all kind of perspectives on topics like this. So I just approve you to come in. All right, Muhammad Did It. I believe connecting to the audio.
Hello, Curtis.
Yes. How you doing, Muhammad?
Yeah, I'm fine. Alhamdulillah, I'm fine.
Good. So what is sort of your thoughts on the topic of if hip hop needs to grow up? Hip hop music, excuse me.
Hip hop needs to grow up in the extent of, there are so much, like what you said before about so many rappers that die, and violence and something like that.
Mhm.
So I think that we need to, grow up from that. Hip hop is actually related to its origin, right?
Right.
Like we know some of the original hip hop rappers like Eazy-E and the others, Tupac, Biggie,
Mhm.
Nas. It's actually like come from a very harsh environment, but if we just keeping up with this kind of harsh treatment like this, I think that we will kind of lose more of our rapper nowadays.
Sure.
So I think that we need to uh grow up as a culture. Because hip hop is a culture, right? So we need to update some kind of things in hip hop that are expired now, because we are not living in that situations anymore. Not in the 80s 90s. It's okay,
I see what
we
you're
can
saying.
talk about gangster shit and like that, but
Right.
nowadays the world is different, so we need to grow up and make hip hop is not attached to some kind of gangster shit, but we can move forward the meaning of hip hop to to community, to to any kind of environment,
Right.
happy, sad, and something like that. We can adapt like that. So
Right.
that is the meaning of how hip hop should grow up.
Got it.
In my opinion.
And just for context, where are you from, man?
Indonesia.
How has hip hop affected you all the way out in Indonesia?
Because I was raised in a way that I listen many of hip hop song.
Mhm.
So actually, there are so many hip hop artists in Indonesia like Iwake, Saikoji,
Sure.
and Rich Brian, and some of the known artists.
Nice.
And for me as a rapper too, it influenced me so much.
Right.
in how I understand the world and then the scenery of hip hop itself.
Got it. Got it. Well, man, I appreciate hearing your thoughts on it. I think it's always important to see from many different backgrounds the viewpoint on hip hop,
Yes,
and I
exactly.
think you said a lot of valid things in that the world we're living in is much different than it was when certain rules applied, and it was kind of this the you know the word or the how can I put it? It was sort of the way life was at that point in time. So I appreciate it, man. Muhammad, it's good to finally talk to you. Looking forward
Thank
to
you
talk to
very
you talk
much.
to you again, man. Thank you for chiming
I
in.
mean, yes, thank you very much.
Of
I'm so
course.
happy. It's glad to talk to you, Curtis.
Likewise, man. Are you have a good one?
What? What did you
I
say?
know. So you have a good one. All right. You have a good
Yeah,
day. All right.
yeah.
Yeah. I want to go to some more callers, but it's a point that got brought up that I think is really important. I think to expand on, in that yes, this world has shifted dramatically. And I think that there are people who would say, well, although it has shifted in many ways, um, in some of these impoverished neighborhoods, they will say this like a very common saying out here is this: there's money in the hood right now. I don't know about right now. Right now, it's probably like post pandemic, but it's a much different world in these environments. The thing that trips me out though is not so much folks from an environment talking about things that are still active within the environment. It's people who are not from the environment that start talking about traumas they never had to live. To me, that's when I knew how powerful a tool the music was in hip hop. When it can make someone who's never lived this life want to fake like they did live this life, like they want to share the trauma. You understand like how powerful that is? That's wild. Swift Dreamer, I want to talk to you right now. That's wild. That's wild. It's wild. Swift Dreamer, you in there? Imagine making the trauma sound so good you want to share in it. What's going on, Swift?
Oh, okay. Let me see. There's an echo.
Uh oh.
Can-
I don't hear it, but I hear you.
All right. Super weird. I'm gonna just take off my headphones. How's it going, Curtis?
All good, man.
How's it going?
It's going. Okay, good, good. Swift, tell me what you got to say about this topic, man. Obviously, there's been a lot of bloodshed. There's been a lot of lost lives, and disproportionately, it's been at the cause of homicide. It's been at the cause of violence, and we go in these cycles in which we see it. We RIP. Oh, could you turn that down just a little bit in the background? Because I'm hearing it echo now too. Oh, good.
Yeah.
There we go.
All
You
right.
good? You good? It's all good. I'll stop talking. I need to hear it. So we see this pattern over and over again. My question to you is: does hip hop music need to grow up? And also, in what way would you say it does?
Okay. So I think like my question would be, well, because I've been contemplating about the question and I'm kind of conflicted
Mm-hmm.
because it's like what one I think what does it mean to like to grow up in this sense of music?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I look at other genres and it's like, do they have like a concept of like growing up and evolving with like what they choose to express in their music?
Mm-hmm.
And I know like what's being said in hip hop could be a factor of like how communities are being affected and like how like some artists are passing away. But like I'm like I'm also thinking about like the business factor of it,
Mm-hmm.
of like how radios and the audience themselves choose to play um what what we the general masses get to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if it's like more of a money play thing, and like
That's a good point.
If it's something that the audience have to also take some type of accountability for,
Right.
like is it something that they want to hear? Because like music is a form of expression, and like people who like work or something and like wants to like decompress after some stresses, they want to listen to music that that maybe represents them or like makes them feel in a certain mood. So
That's a good
like
point.
I think about like is it based on like just the cycle of like music, because again, like I was thinking about like the music genres of like country or like pop is probably like the only one I feel like really evolves, because it's just based on what's popular in music. But
well, and I want to make sure
things get.
I would say
I feel like most of the same sentiment. Oh wait, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're
I'm
good.
looking at the chat because I can't really hear you.
No, you're good. You're good. I was gonna say I want to make sure I clarify because you made a really valid point that I think I need to make this clear for anybody who comes in here about when I say hip hop music. Does hip hop music need to grow up? Actually, I'm gonna mute you really quick because I'm hearing that feedback as well. I'm gonna bring you back in a second, okay? All right, let me do this. So when I say does hip hop music need to grow up, it's less about trying to peg down or beat down what the state of hip hop is. I've always had this thing where, and you guys understand, where the perspective on hip hop is that there's an age bias. After a certain age, people start to kind of downplay what you do if it doesn't fit what's currently hot and what's currently current, right? And because of that, it causes, I shouldn't say it causes, but a lot of rappers react by creating music that is incredibly younger than what they are, right? You can make arguments for the Sonics not having ages to them, but they'll make music that would be generally reserved for a 17, 18-year-old. Like, and this is no disrespect to the OG, love the OG, LL Cool J, but at one point he made an Instagram song, and I just did not get it. I got it, but I didn't get it. And so I understand why that is because when you get artists who get to a certain age, like, do people, I mean, and the underground, the independent hip hop is the proof that it is something people want to hear, but a general popular mainstream audience, do they really want to know what the real life of a rapper is at 42? Because the stuff that you're hearing in the music from somebody like a Kanye, right, who's talking about all kind of crazy stuff, if that was a lifestyle, he would not be able to maintain that in his deep 40s or mid 40s. A lot of the stuff is entertainment. We get that. But I wonder, because of the effects now that we're seeing at a rapid rate, if that means that either the music needs to grow up or if the audience has to tailor their preferences so that they can keep the very artists that they're fans of around here and alive. So I'm glad that you definitely brought that point up. I'm gonna let you go ahead and end it off though, Swift Dreamer.
Yeah, thank you. Well, there was one other thing I wanted to bring up, because I feel like if you know about the YouTuber Sean C, because a lot of people brought up, after Takeoff's passing, that we have to, does the rapper kind of speak it into power, like their deaths, and to some extent I feel that, but also, you also have to keep in mind that it is like a systematic thing, because it's like, okay, again, it kind of goes off the root of hip hop, like people just talking about like what's going on in the neighborhoods and whatnot, and it turned into like what the topics generally are in the hip hop music, and if things are, it's kind of like how Kendrick had that song Institutionalized. People get institutionalized in their own hood.
Sure.
And it's like they bring a mentality, even though they're like, they could be out of that environment doing much better. they're doing things that still relate back to the things that they were doing when they didn't have as much money.
Right. That's a good point.
That could be perpetuating a thing too. And why Sean T brought up like, hey, you also got to pay attention to like the inner city kids and, having, governments have a little bit more of a hand in what's going on in the inner cities and in these neighborhoods. So, it's also about helping those communities at that lower level.
I agree. And
I'm trying to end it there because
no, you're good. No, Swift, you made a lot of
situation.
No, Swift, you made a lot of valid points, and I appreciate you, man. I'm actually gonna bring someone else in here, but thank you so much for contributing to the conversation, bro. It's good to talk to you, man.
It's good to talk to you, man. Same here, Curtis. You have a good one.
You too. Oh no, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, my bad. I damn near reported my friend just by removing him out there. So. Great valid points in that some people are getting into this culture of hip hop and they're literally carrying on a tradition that's never been questioned, which is really the foundation of a lot of the content that I make here is questioning things that we have just kind of shrug our shoulders and be like, that's just how it is. Why are you thinking so deep on it? Because we need to have these conversations. I'm tired of losing artists, such bright young artists, right? It's not my artists. I'm a fan of these artists. Before they even reach 26, 27, 28, like Takeoff was 28. Like that's wild to think about the life I would not have had. I'm 37. To think about the life I would not have over the last 10 years. And now it's to the point where I wish I could believe the statement that folks are just rapping about what's in the environment. But there's so many examples of people who don't allow the environment to be the only thing that dictates their pen, right? Even you talked about Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar is obviously the exception to the rule for a lot of people, but there's reporting, observing, and perpetuating stereotypes, right? And I think it's important to decipher the difference. And then also, too, this is by no means to let off the hook the labels. This is by no means. I was actually waiting for somebody to bring that up. This is by no means letting them off the hook. Because at the end of the day, the people who get killed end up being the artists. Never the record execs. Never the folks who actually cut these checks. Never the people who sign them. Never the folks who continue to push this upon the radio stations and start to push this in the branding, in the music videos. They finance all these things. Nothing ever. And I don't want anything to happen to them. Right? Not like, I was like, that's not the purpose of that. I'm just saying they get to do this, rinse and repeat, bring the next person in, insert them into this situation, and perpetuate the same thing. So obviously the responsibility falls with them as well, but we can't rely upon them to police us, especially when we ultimately have control over what we say yes to, what deals we want to say yes to, and what we want to do, which is why I push this independence so much. Chris.
What's up?
What's up, bro? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, bro. I'm good, man.
Hey, I like how you gave everybody else a little intro and then you just
come on,
dropped
man.
me.
Nah, because you know what it's like? It's like I'm talking to my homie that I always talk to. First of all, Chris Reed, come on now. If you don't know, you gonna know. First of all, look how HD this camera is. Nobody gets HD on Zoom like this unless they do this on a regular. Please make sure that you subscribe to my man's Chris. You don't see he got a red logo in there. First, see you messed up. You messed up when you said that. Your intro was coming. I just wanted to chop it up with you because it's good to see your face, bro. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing? It's good to see you. Thank you for, letting me join the conversation.
Letting you join, man. I seen that name pop up. I was like, yeah, I'm for sure talking to my guy. So obviously the tone of the conversation has been majority really serious. Because it's obviously dealing with people's lives and livelihoods. But I'm really curious of your perspective because I've seen you articulate on these kind of thoughts before. But talk to the audience, man. What do you feel about the state of hip-hop music? And do you feel like it is time for it to grow up, the audience taste to grow up, to be more open? What do you think needs to happen, man?
I want to first start off. I was actually sitting here listening to everybody. Everybody has like really great input so far, and like I've even learned and grown even from just a small amount of time that I've been listening.
That's dope.
There was a video that you actually posted that made me think a lot about my music production and whatever. So you, I believe, don't, if I'm wrong, let me know if I'm wrong, but I'm paraphrasing.
I might be wrong too, because I got a lot of videos. So go ahead.
You had basically said, why do you want to make trap style beats if you're not going to be in the trap? Like, would you actually be in the studio with that style of person? Do you remember that?
Yeah. That was a thought inspired by my guy Epic. Epic told me that one time. He was like, don't you think it's funny how you got all of these kids that want to make these trap beats, these Florida trap beats, but would never sit in the studio with the dread head, with the gold teeth? They'd be scared for their life. They'll never leave the house. Like,
exactly.
how could you make a certain music, attract a certain demographic, and then be afraid to even email them and have business jump on a call with them? If you're afraid of the culture, stop making music that puts you in these situations.
And, you know, the thing about it is the way that it connects is people are making music because they want to be successful. They want to find themselves in a professional atmosphere. And when you're trying to become a professional, when you're trying to have a business, it's like, okay, what are people searching for right now? They're searching for drill type beats. Okay, cool. I guess I got to make drill. I don't know nothing about the drill lifestyle. That has nothing to do with me. But because I don't even understand that one of the main messages of drill is to actually eliminate your oppositions.
Yeah.
So we're talking about it's death all evolved in it. Now, I don't want to get all, confused in terms of what people might think about music.
Yeah.
Because, of course, you can have like an R&B type beat that has drill elements
in it, right? That's the craziest thing that's happened in 2022, genre-wise, is R&B drill for me. I was like, you singing? You singing this murder on a op? Really? Is that where we at with it right now?
Hey, so, Curtis, crazy.
Let me. You know that's gonna happen. We get on there. Let me ask you this though. So playing devil's advocate, you got folks. And this is why I definitely want to hear from, some of the younger members in our audience. Like, so young that I'm like, damn, I forgot what it's like being that age. Because I want to know. I wonder if their devil's advocate argument is it's just music, bro. It's not that serious. Why do you feel like it is or it isn't that serious?
It is serious. The question you ask in terms of does hip hop music need to grow up? It's interesting because the topics and the themes that are being discussed in music are adult themes all around. And no matter what you're talking about, if you're talking about if you're talking about the violence, if you're talking about sex, if you're talking about all of the stuff that is being talked about in hip hop, no matter where you are and no matter what age you are, they're all adult themes. So it's grown up. Is there a level of immaturity? Is there a level of there's no like taking responsibility in what is being said or what is being pushed? Absolutely. There's definitely a level of like immaturity. And so in that way, I think there's plenty of artists and different people who absolutely need to grow up. In the same way, if you're an adult and you're not looking after those who are below you, those who are younger than you, then you have some growing up to do as well. Yeah. So for, like you were talking earlier, these music execs, these older producers, these people who are, basically grooming to say these younger acts where it's like, we know you come from the hood, we know you come from here or there, and you want to be hot, you want to make it in the music industry. Okay, this is what it's going to take. This is what you got to look like. And this is what you got to rap about. They're also not giving them the same conversation of, okay, and make sure that you stay out of this environment and be here, be there. It's a lot of things that come about this conversation. Whereas if we really take a step back and kept it real, like you wouldn't be in the same environments that you're in. I grew up in Compton, what I'm saying? Kendrick, comes to mind. And it's just kind of like, as for much as he talks about the hood and all of the things that he talked about is very true. As much as he talks about those things, I'm just like, I'm not gonna see him. I don't believe I will see him in the same kind of environments that I would see real. Other people. It's just, he's just in another level. He's just in another lane. So it's like, and sometimes that would be seen as a negative thing. It's like, oh, he don't be in the hood, he don't never come back he don't be on Slauson, he don't be. It's like, yeah, good. Don't come over here.
We want you to be here. We want you to be here to do the very thing that made us so inspired by your work. There's no more, like, all the artists we lost. Is there not examples of? Not everybody is as prolific as Tupac was, where he left albums and even like it's not the topic, but like Prince has vaults of music. Everybody is not that prolific, especially nowadays where you have the responsibility of 7 or 8 different things that you need to do. Social media content, showing up for runway shows and your fashion sponsorships. There's just so many more things for them to do that is outside the music that we literally won't have the very thing that made us care about who they were to begin with. And you want to put them in those environments where people are just, you know what I'm saying? Where they looking at them like, that's just a come up.
Right. I mean, it's like you said earlier, it's a very serious conversation,
right,
in terms of, because people lives are being lost.
Mm-hmm.
And they're being lost because of, like I was seeing in the chat, sometime environment, just the environment that we grow up in. Some environments better than others or whatever. And there is a stigma about where you are, where you decide to, be found,
right,
how real that makes you. And the realest artists that we see, those are the ones that, often get the most respect. And then those are also the ones that often are fought and are found in the crosshairs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, there's
mm-hmm.
this game that's being played, with this whole idea of being a rapper and being out there. It's a game that's being played, and it's just different on different levels. We really don't actually see it, because it's like people go home and take off their face. They take off their mask.
Man,
they're no longer
live
that
a
person
whole nother
anymore.
life. And bro, and that, to me, that's, so thank you so much for contributing to this conversation, bro, because you're inspiring a lot of ideas. But to me, that's always the most dangerous part about all this, is that the people who ultimately get the bigger splits off of these kind of things are living lives that have nothing to do with the content of the music, have nothing to do with interacting with these artists. It's like they get to leave work, and it's not a hazard for them to be an exec of this label and go to a supermarket.
Right.
Right. Even if they go to the very same neighborhoods that these artists are from, the mindset is not, oh, this dude's multimillionaire, and you know what I'm saying? I need to, like, as crazy as it sounds, a top exec could go eat at that same Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles and have a very different situation than what happened with PNB Rock.
I believe so. I would agree with you with that, because some of it, I don't want to get preachy at all. You're not gonna let me. You're not gonna do it to me. You're not gonna do it to me. I'm not gonna do it.
You are the Chris Reed. Yeah, I'm here. We ready, Chris.
I'm just Chris.
No.
You gotta love yourself.
I get it.
You gotta love yourself. You gotta love your people. You gotta love who you come from.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just what's missing. And then, so it's not, I don't see you as my people. I just see you as an opportunity. So, in that situation, it was like, okay, I don't want to go into what the person reasoning might be behind it, but it's like, if I see you and you look like me, it's like we the same people. Right. You gotta love yourself. You don't love yourself, what you gonna do? You gonna hurt people. And hurt people hurt people. Right. All the cliche things can be said.
Yeah.
And so it's almost also to be seen as to say, like, the pawns can fight each other. That's cool. The pawns can fight each other. Let the pawns fight each other, and they kill each other off. But a pawn ain't going to try to attack the king or the queen.
Yeah.
That's kind of the mentality. It's like, we know we can't aim at this person. They too high up in the game. People going to know about them. People going to try to retaliate. The police definitely going to be more involved. All of that is true. Right. But this low-level person, this pawn, as to say, not to say like these people are pawns. I'm definitely not trying to disrespect these people. I'm saying in the scheme of a record exec compared to the artist, right, or what I'm saying, they're seen as that. So
they're seen as replaceable. Like let's keep it a whole stack. They're seen as, I can get another little you. There's another little you that will do a whole lot more than you're willing to do for this opportunity to be here. And obviously we know that there's a dark underworld and a dark culture that is in that industry in general. And we don't even need to, there's enough YouTube videos that that create their own thoughts on that. But I do think it's important for us to stop it sometimes. And I want to ask you one last question on this, because you gave a lot of great input. But I think we all need an opportunity to stop and kind of look at the lay of the land, look at around and say, damn, it's almost like the same conversation you have with a job. Like, damn, if I died tomorrow, they will be taking applicants for this by next week.
Absolutely. They already jobs never stop hiring, by
Never.
the way.
Right.
My wife is in HR. She's constantly hiring. They'll hire 10 people and still be hiring, because you just never know. Something could happen in the process, whatever. I don't have to go through that. I'm just saying, even before you go, they already hiring the next person.
So
yeah,
my last question to you is this, and I want to make sure, because we got a few people in here, but bro, I'm so glad. I want to get you back on the channel just in general.
For sure.
What do you think needs to actually shift first? Do you think it's the audience using their buying power and saying, I'm not going to pay for music like this? Do you think it's artists saying, okay, well, if this is the get down in the industry, I need to go create the kind of music I want and do it independently? Like, if you had, I mean, obviously there's no magic wand answer, but if you had that power to shift things, what do you think it needs to start first?
Man, that's a question that's much larger than I feel like I can answer, but I can take a stab and say, I would probably say it has to start from the community and the culture first. The music is one thing in terms of what's being said in the music, but we've already saw that from your earlier conversations that there's other music that have way more complications in terms of what's being said in the music,
right.
In terms of violence or even self-violence, right? Even inflicting violence upon oneself. All of that is there. So it really is not about the music, and this the crazy part about it, Curtis, is that as much as the song might be talking about self-harm, that could be the thing, man. I was listening to that song that kept me from doing that. And I think the same can go for our music, because that's what music does. It's like, it's not to say that all music is going to make us violent. Some music just helps us to escape. Some music helps us to therapy, some music is therapy. So all of that, it can't be the music. It has to be the community. It has to be the culture.
Man.
So if we're gonna listen to these, this music that's gonna have these implications and these thoughts, we have to ourselves, the community, the culture, we have to recognize and understand what's happening, the effect that's happening because of it.
It's just Chris Reed just casually popping into the conversation. Like, this is what I love. That's why I love being able to do things like this. Y'all make sure you go follow up Chris Reed. Probably one of the most fire production podcasts, fire production live streams, I should say, excuse me, that you guys need to tap into. Maybe I'm speaking things into existence, but my guy, thank you so much for contributing to this conversation, bro.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. You inspire me, Curtis. I appreciate you. Everybody in the chat room, man. It's good to see y'all. Peace.
Salute, bro. Man,
Salute.
Chris Reed, the Chris Reed. He said, "Where my intro at, Curtis?" Okay. Thank you for the people who have been patient in here. Ramon, I'm not even gonna try to attempt to do that last name, but Ramon.
Here.
How you doing, sir?
Ramon? Yes, sir. I'm not even gonna try to attempt to.
Okay, I think that the audio is kind of echoing on everything. Is it possible to turn me down a little bit?
Yeah, I have it in my app. I just lowered it down.
Okay. First and foremost, how are you doing?
I'm good. Great here in the Bronx, New York.
Bronx, New York. Okay. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Talking about violence.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's so wild, especially so close to the origins of where hip hop started. To see like some of the music that's coming out right now is just, in general, it's like that. Not even to put it all on the East Coast, but there's just a lot of stuff that just seems like it's finding that funding and mainstream exposure at a rapid rate, and there's just casualty after casualty after casualty, which is what inspires this conversation. And I want to know your thoughts, Ramon. Do you think that hip hop music needs to grow up? What is your thoughts on that topic, man?
they definitely have to. But I see here, I walk around, I see the kids even making the videos with their phones, singing the songs, drill, trap, whatever. But what I came to the point that it is, I don't want to take it off from the labels because labels are making money out of it. I follow the money is that's the trick, right?
Right.
Always follow the money. So they are making great money. A lot of ARs have been talking about what's going on, how much money they do from videos. A lot of things are going in the bag that, of course, you say we're not going to talk about it. But the thing is demographics, what I see, hip hop always being about validation, ego, and representing your life. So basically, the kids, the young guys, they are just being a reflection of what's going on. All this combination, and then you gotta do what you say. Then you gotta be for you to be valid, for you to be considered. Yes, he's a rapper. Yes, he's a trapper. He lived that life that he's talking about. But at the same time, what these kids coming from, what they are seeing all day in the neighborhood, it's deep. It could be also an entity that could measure and say, okay, these lyrics are going, this is not going in the label. I will say that. But again, it's like a round circle. Like they are making money out of it. Like they don't really. These are not the people like you and me.
Yeah,
they just making money. They just business guys. So it's
with that cycle existing the way it is. I wanted to ask you a question before you expanded on that. What do you think breaks that circle? Because there's always a necessity of, if I'm in a situation where money is the thing that I need, and I have this art form that allows me to do that, but I kind of have to talk about these certain things and shine light on these certain things of where I'm from in order to do that. And there's folks who are putting contracts in front of it because I see my buddy over here just got a deal. Okay, it's doable. All I got to do is kind of play this role or even just talk about these particular topics. And then the labels obviously want to continue to generate income. And then, we can also go on a deeper conversation that I'll probably save for another time about why they profit from the violence more than just
somebody
the music.
Was calling me. My bad.
No worries. So long-winded question, but basically my question to you is, how do you kind of stop that cycle, in your opinion?
I'm thinking about role models, education. I'm thinking about we have a Lupe Fiasco, we have a J. Cole. They do this great music. Everybody can listen. Young people, middle age, even some old people will look for that music. So education, creating ways to make the young guys see that there is another possibility. Stopping the violence, I will say, is number one. Like they seeing this all day, they gonna talk about it. When you are young, you are fearless. You just go for it. So there could be so many ways to go for these, but creating role models, I think is the key. Getting some way to the kids for better education. It's so many things that I would say, or anybody can
These
come
are great
up.
points. Yeah.
That's my feeling about it.
No worries. I greatly appreciate you contributing to it, man. I think it's important. Role models are so important, and it's we got to hear these different perspectives to because everybody is different, right? Everybody has a different personality. They have a different things that'll trigger different types of changes within them. So hearing about all of this is very important, man. So
now you say that you're doing this, you're creating this conversation about it. But what about those big names in the rap music, those OGs that everybody respect? They are the ones also that should start this conversation that you're starting here. It's a serious thing. It's people dying. Like it's live people. It's not just music. It's what the lyrics. It's actually families being break and hurt.
And you know what, Ramon? This is why I feel like, although in a perfect world, the ones who have the largest audience, the biggest influence, you would want them to have these conversations and do it from a place that's genuine. But this is why I invest so much within the community, is because I feel like we're the new rock stars. And I say that in the most positive sense, not rock star in the sense of, you know, being drunk and acting crazy and all the other stuff that come up in. I say that in a sense that we have, at some point, I think we have to stop looking to them, to folks who have already made their money, are comfortable in their life and comfortable in their lifestyle, comfortable with whatever justifications they made to talk about a certain lifestyle and live a completely different lifestyle. We got to stop looking at them. It will be amazing to hear that. But I also feel like while we're waiting on that, we could be having a conversation like this one today. And I think that a conversation is more valuable than no conversation.
Definitely.
So with whatever influence that I have with the 82 folks that are in here, like I'm looking at this and I'm like, we are the conversation. We are the ones that plant the seeds, because here's one thing I can tell you from being in this industry, or being a part of this industry at one point and then breaking away. They follow the money. And if you can show them a way to monetize positivity or show them how to monetize something different, and it competes with the stuff that, you know, because I look at it like this, with the labels, this is going to sound very cold, and I understand this, but if the labels look at artists as tax write-offs, if they look at them as just, I can replace you with anybody, aren't you tired of losing your product? Like, if you just look at these people, you don't even care about their lifestyle, you don't care about them as human beings, which is cold and terrible, you're losing your product.
They look at us like as cows. Either you produce milk or not. It's it. Either it's fun, but it's deep. It's weird. It just came out with that. Like, you just produce milk, or you're going to be meat grinder. Man. You're going to the meat grinder. That's it. Basically.
That's heavy. You said like cows. Man, I'm so glad we got to talk to you. Were there any last thoughts that you wanted to give on this topic, or any words that you would give to a young artist that is kind of on a fence and wants to do the things that we're talking about, but they're maybe looking at, well, it's not necessarily making the same money as the other stuff? What would you say to them?
More than the money, I would say we have to have a better, clear way of thinking that the things, not just because of a moment situation in the moment, just a reaction. Right. We got to think about what we're going to do is going to affect us, but not just us. It's going to affect other people's family, your mother, your father, your brother, your son, your daughter. So I will go to say that to the kids and young guys, young rappers listening to us, because I think it's the most important is giving them the message, you know. Absolutely. and looking for other forms. They got the YouTube, they got all these platforms, you know. We can do much better. We can do better as a community.
We can. I appreciate you so much for sharing those thoughts, because you gave a lot of great insight. So thank you so much for your time, man.
Appreciate you all, guys. Have a good one.
You too. Ramon, that's all this value just sitting in the community. I'm embarrassed to myself for not doing something like this earlier, but everything happens when it's supposed to happen. Joshua Green, you've been very, 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 very patient with this. I want to hear from you. Yeah, there's a lot of valuable points on there, and that there's enough examples of other ways to do it. There's enough examples of that, and it really is up to us. Joshua, are you there? Did I lose you? I might have lost you. Hello? Yeah, I think I might have lost you. He was in there for a long time. I'm sorry. DSG. DSG, you still with us? Yo, come on, Touch Tone. I just seen the last name. I didn't see a Touch Tone, man. I don't hear you yet. You connect to the audio still. It's all good. I'll wait for you, bro. I'll wait for you because I got to hear your input on this. and then I want to talk to Law right after. You're all good. Yes. We're living in a time where I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of things are happening, whether you agree with it or not, that are, and I think I saw Ghost Sosa was alluding to it, that I call glitches in the Matrix, man. Like, we're the glitches, we're the cracks in the Matrix, we're the things that break up the monotony. We're the ones that are going to break up the patterns that we see over and over again. And when we ask ourselves, why does this keep happening? We're the ones that's going to finally do something about it. And we have such a great shot at it because of all the tools and things that we have around us. Never has there been a time where information has been this accessible. Never has there been a time where we can just jump on and have a conversation from no matter where you're at. Touch Tone, did we get it situated? I know you got all, yeah, there we go. I'm about to say that man got all kind of gear over there, so better you than me, because I'll get over there and not know how to turn anything on. How you doing, bro? Uh-oh, you went mute again. If you don't know, Touch Tone, man. Touch Tone, man's a gear savant. This is somebody you definitely want to follow up on YouTube and just check out all of his amazing content. He's somebody that we have conversations on a regular basis in the Instagram, voice notes, definitely just sending positivity back and forth. It's just somebody I love to see out here creating high quality content. So
can you hear me?
I can hear you now, sir. How you doing, bro?
Okay. I'm well. Thank you for asking. There's a little delay here, man. So if I get like a little delay going on, that's why.
No worries. It just means I got to shut up and listen.
It's all good. It's all good. There we go. All right. Cool. So yeah, I wanted to join in on this conversation because, man, this is deep. This is deep. This is real. Can you guys see me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I wanted to hop in here because I heard you ask the question, does hip hop need to grow up? And I feel like it's already grown up.
Mm-hmm.
It is what's being shown to us that it's not grown up.
And expand
and what
upon
I
that.
mean,
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so you can go on Instagram, you can go on TikTok, you can even go on YouTube. Anytime an old head, as we are quoted, says anything to the young kids, we're hating.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I feel like the old heads that have been through it, that has the experience, can help the younger generation.
Yes.
And there is this clear divide right now, almost on purpose.
Yeah.
To where it keeps them at each other's odds, keep them away from each other, because we have power in numbers.
Yeah.
Right. And you talked about a solution. Well, what's the solution? I feel like the solution is not here yet until action is taken. Till we take that action, the solution will present itself once there's a collaborative effort of two generations. I can tell you right now, I couldn't have made it to where I am 39 right now without the older generation guiding me.
Yeah.
Right. And the message to me, when I hear it, is I was just looking at a list of rappers that have died since 2019, and it's absolutely shocking.
Man.
It is shocking. And there's some big names, people you forget about, and you're just like, dang. And the fact that I say people you forget about, think about that.
Yeah.
Like, how many people have to die for you to forget about someone?
Yeah.
That's wild.
And I was gonna say that you said something earlier, bro, that it triggered a post, or reminded me of a post that I saw earlier about TikTok. I'm not sure. I'm gonna probably butcher exactly where it was, but if people don't know, there's many different versions of TikTok depending on where you live at and what gets suggested to you on your For You page, what stuff you see as being popular, what stuff that you're like, man, because people who create these social media platforms know you're going to look at the world a certain way based upon how your timeline is presented. They do this purposely. Well, in one particular country where TikTok is, it has contributed to early development in children because of the nature of the content. I just saw this earlier today. I got to find that article. And it's the complete opposite with sort of the dumbed down culture in the US, where we're kind of pushed dance after dance after dance, funny video, fights, sex, like all the different things that just pop up on a regular basis. And yeah, I had to bring that up because it's so true in that if the music is not, because people will, like I said, they always play devil's advocate and say you can't just blame the music. Yeah, you're right. You can't just blame the music, but you also can't take the music off the witness stand, right? Especially if you can say that the words are so powerful in the music, and imagery is so powerful in TikTok that it can literally have an effect on the development of children, positively or negatively. Then you can't take music off the witness stand. As somebody who makes music, I love it. I love it all, right? I've loved it all. I'm changing my direction or the things that I'm listening to. I'm kind of doing more filtering, especially as a dad now too. But yeah, man, those are valid points. But man, you said you were looking at a list of just rappers that have passed away since 2019. It's so many that we forget. Oh, he did pass away.
It is.
It's wild.
It is. And it's crazy because hip hop is the only culture that's accepted it. It is. You don't see that in country. You don't see it in pop. You don't see even artists beefing with each other in those other cultures or those other genres of music, which says a lot. What is allowed, right? And I feel like hip hop is a business and certain things sell. And when things become a business, you have an employer that set the standard for what's allowed. The last conversation you had, you said, well, your employer or the label can replace you with someone else. And I'm thinking, my first thought that I had is like, absolutely they can, because they've dumbed down the message and they've dumbed down that culture to where they can just replace you with anyone. They've made it easy to insert Little here, last name this, insert Grills here, last name this, and perpetuate a certain language, a certain frequency. This is the weird thing. Okay, so my son, he's about to turn 13 on the 16th, and he just found a group called Tribe Called Quest.
Oh my gosh, 13, just finding Tribe. I love it. I love it.
And it led him down this hole, right? Indicable planets or whatever. And we were just having a conversation, I kid you, last night after the gym. And he goes, why does this music make me feel like this? It makes me feel like getting up and doing something. Yeah. Instead of just wallowing and having all this pent up aggression. Because I feel that way. I'm a producer, you're a producer, and I'm not gonna act like I'm higher than now. Like I've hopped on trends before because that was hot, but it was not fulfilling. I felt like I wasn't doing what I was put here to do. I was following instead of leading at that point.
Bro, okay, we got to expand on this. I think that's it almost gave me goosebumps just hearing you walk that through the origin of talking to your son about Tribe, Diggable Planets, taking him through, like helping him experience that from your lens and then allowing him to experience from his own lens. It's a trip, bro. It's a trip that we have experienced music that made us feel a certain way because the era called for certain music to feel a certain way, right? We moved fast. Even when you look at us in the culture, right, just artists and producers in general, we talked faster in the 90s. We moved quicker. And I know that sounds funny to some people who are listening, but it's like, I always say this is my theory about music. If you want to know why the music sounds the way it did, you have to ask questions about the drugs that were popular during that era.
Ooh.
The 70s.
Ooh.
The speed of the 70s is very indicative of the LSD and the type of drugs that really cause you to sit your ass down and reflect among the things that are around you, right? The 80s, when you think about cocaine, you think about speed, and you think about the music became faster. When you think about the 90s, and it's like now the 2000s, fast forward all the way now, everything is so slow. Yeah, it's almost like the music, I'll get ready to say that, the music is a literal reflection of lean. And so that's the music that takes off. Even when you think about like drill, and this is just from me having a bunch of DJ homies who know about like the difference between urban radio and like top 40 and whatnot. But like hip hop music, mainstream has never been this slow before. Popular music that gets on the radio has never. It used to be a point in time, especially West Coast music, or West Coast radio, I should say, not just West Coast music, West Coast radio, where if it wasn't above 93, 95 beats per minute, it wasn't getting on the radio.
Getting on the radio. Yep.
Now?
Yep.
You missing out on a whole lot of music if you use those same rules. That's some valid points, man. Man, you making some really valid. So I want to make sure that we get to law, because man, I love how much value the conversation has as is, and I actually got to go get a haircut in a little bit. But I'm prolonging this conversation because it needs to happen. But man, two questions. Okay. What do you think needs to shift first? What kind of action do you think needs to be taken by whom? And I'll ask you the second one after you answer that one, because that's a heavy one in itself. What do you think needs to change within hip hop music, and then by whom?
Accountability, by us, period. So if we say, hey, we love this culture, and I've heard a lot of people say hip hop changed my life, saved my life. If it wasn't for hip hop, I wouldn't be this. Mm-hmm. But then some of those same people, most of them, perpetuate a message that is Black trauma, it's pain. So to me, you're just taking from it, and you're not getting back. You're not giving back. And the accountability, to me, that's where it is, because every time something happens, we're pointing fingers. No one's pointing the thumb. It's us. Right. We have to be the gatekeepers. We have to say enough is enough. We can't serve two masters. We can't serve money and then try to serve cultures and generations that's coming up. It don't work like that. You're going to have to compromise somewhere. Yeah. Man. I don't even know if I need to ask the second question. You know that one so well. I bro, touched on. I'm going to get you on here. We've been talking about it. I'm gonna have to get you on here when time allows on your end. But I absolutely appreciate your feedback. Last question, actually. What feedback or what advice would you give to a younger artist, younger producer in here who is like, I get you, but man, why do people keep blaming the music? Like why is it such a big deal what I say, what I create? What would you kind of say to them? Well, okay, so you speak a language, and the language is how you communicate. And I don't need to really go into it, but for the past 2 weeks, there have been a certain basketball player and a certain rapper that just from a couple words that they spoke shook the world. Really. So it's always about your words. Your words are actual vibrations. Okay. So when you speak, you are releasing energy out into the world. It is very powerful. And think about it, when you were a kid and you looked up to certain people, whether they wanted you to look up to them or not, whether that be your mom, whether that be your dad, an uncle, Michael Jordan, whoever, you hang on words that they say. Man. It's just human nature. And to me, if a young producer, well, why can't it do this? Why can't it do that? To me, you're making excuses, because there comes a time, and here's the question that you pose. When does hip hop music need to grow up? That answer is yes. There's going to come a time to where you're going to have responsibility and need to grow up, whether you want to or not, because you're going to have a platform. You're going to have a voice. You're going to have people following you. You're going to have influence. Man. And it's up to you to accept that responsibility or not.
Ladies and gentlemen, Touch Tone, bro, I appreciate this input. I appreciate you. We definitely got to chop it up some more soon, man. But Blessings to you and your family, bro. I really appreciate you giving to this conversation, man. All right, bro. I'm gonna talk to you soon, man.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, Touch Tone. I know some amazing people. I know some, like, this ain't about me, but I know some amazing people. God bless them all for being able to jump into these kind of conversations. Law. My man's Law. I feel like I've seen Law for years and I've never spoken to Law. Law, man, I've seen you in this community for a very long time. It is amazing to finally get to have an opportunity to talk to you. I appreciate the super chat earlier. First off, how you doing?
Man, I'm well. How you doing, bro?
Doing well. So
good.
Heavy topic, heavy conversation that I think a lot of us are having our own conversations internally about. You know, how do we, this thing that we love, this culture that we love, this culture that some people have the option to take it off, right? You get to take it off and then go to your job and nobody knows you're a part of it. Some folks, it's in our blood. Some folks, it's just us. It's the way we talk. People would see it from the first few seconds they talk to us, and they would know that we kind of have a general understanding, even if it's a silent understanding, about being a part of this culture. That being said, though, I love it so much that I have to question it when I feel like it's not just wrong, because who am I to say what's wrong or right, but when I feel like it's the very cause that people are losing their lives. And more than us losing musicians, children are losing fathers, right? Mothers and fathers are losing sons. And we get to move on to another artist. They don't get to move on to another child. And it's got me really thinking about that because I'm a dad myself now. But Law, in your opinion, do you feel like hip hop music needs to grow up?
Honestly, Curtis, I agree with the caller before when he said it was already grown up.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're in a place now where negativity just sells more than ever. And the only way for it to actually shift is someone has to step up and shift it. Like, the longer we wait, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
The more rappers that die, it's almost like, it kind of goes back to what you said earlier about we have the tools. It's just about whether or not we're willing to use them.
Right.
And I think we're in a great position as independent artists to do so because of all the many platforms, like you said, TikTok, YouTube, all these different platforms. But I think what has to happen is we have to shift the narrative, because what a lot of people don't understand is hip hop wasn't always like this in its core and its origin.
Mm-hmm.
It got that way, and then it progressively got worse over time.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're to a point where it's kind of like the hip hop apocalypse.
Man, what do you mean when you say that? When you say it's like the hip hop apocalypse?
It's kind of like that Bone Thugs and Harmony song. See you at the crossroads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, where do we actually go from here?
Yeah.
Because me personally, the question I had, I think I put it in the super chat. I was just like, if hip hop was to go positive, would it be the most popular?
You know what's ironic about that? And I don't want to cut your point off because I want to definitely hear what you're saying. I just saw an article, and I got to start screenshotting this stuff. I just saw an article that popped up. I want to say either on Complex, but they said this is the first year that the gap has closed in terms of hip hop's dominance amongst all genres, meaning that people are not investing as much money into the genre, at least on a mainstream level. This is the first time that the number dropped off. Now, it's still, don't get it twisted, it's still dominating every other genre. But this is the first year where there's been sort of a change in behavior from the general buying audience. Now, that could be a few different things that are contributing to that, but it really makes me wonder how much of that is the audience that, you know, after 2020, I think a lot of things shifted in a way that we probably won't even understand until 20 or 30 years later how much that affected us, right? Being able to shut the world down for a few months and have to only focus on ourselves, our environment, our family, whatever is in there. Like, there wasn't no going outside for a long period of time. And that has an effect on people in the way that they view their normal life. And I'm looking at folks and I'm like, either we can look at that and say people are waking up, or they're saying, you know what, this is just not, it's not hitting the same way it was for me at one point in time because I'm in a different mental headspace. But yeah, I want to make sure that you were able to complete your point, but I definitely wanted to chime in on that because that was something interesting I saw earlier today.
Right. And to just not to segue, but to me, the reason why this community is so special to me, because I don't necessarily want to take it biblically, but I read the Bible a lot.
You can. Just, you
okay,
there ain't I ain't finna code switch nobody in here. You want to talk about the Lord. Talk about the Lord. Talk about the Bible, fam. I ain't stopping none of that. Please do.
I got you. But it reminds me so much of the Israelites and what they had to endure to finally get to the promised land.
Yeah.
That's what this community does for me, because I see it from the outside, and I have artists all around me with a part of my community, but I don't collab with them because they just don't speak to the level that I'm on as far as emotional maturity with the music. Of course, in the beginning, I was rah, this, I'll kill you, da, until I realized and stopped to realize, like, man, like, what does that do for anyone?
What?
That's what they all do.
Can I ask you about that though? Can I ask you about that? Yeah. When you had that realization, what do you think inspired that realization of questioning the words that you were putting on these records?
Actually, believe it or not, it was actually my uncle, man. We were sitting down, we was having a conversation. We were sitting down eating, and he was just like, have you ever thought about being the first rapper who never cursed but said the absolute most important stuff? And I was like,
that don't sound like something that's gonna do well, right?
You know what I mean? Like,
I get it.
But it changed the way I looked at how I viewed the music, because a lot of it for me was therapy, and I feel like that's how it is for most of us. We go to this place, it's our peaceful zone. We go in, we lock in, and it's some of the most peaceful, fun experiences that we have. And it's just like, how do we translate that in a way to help others find their peace?
Man.
Instead of it always being trauma, pain, hurt, kill this, kill that, how do we transform that into a place where they can find their peace? And I think that's my personal mission, is to use the music for that.
I salute you for that, Law, because you articulated that in a way that I wish the younger me would have heard it, especially when I never was like a shoot 'em up bang bang rapper, but I was talking hella ratchet on some records because that was the thing to do. Like, you couldn't be too squeaky clean, or the first person they bring up is like a Will Smith or somebody who was like, what you trying to be? What you trying to do? You're not going to be popular this way. And when it was important for me to see fame, when it was important to me to possibly even get signed, you fall into that peer pressure loop. Just like anybody else, I feel like at a certain impressionable age. But it's funny, man. Like, you said it was your uncle for you. Like, my pops has listened to my records, and my pops will be like, yeah, just not for me. He'll say whatever you say. His version of it didn't have an effect on me the same way my mom's did. My mom said, she's like, she's so sly the way she get it. Like, she'll get her point across in her own way, but she'll be like, and Mama's arms are super religious too, but she say, do you think that your curse words she said, do you think that your curse words hold a lot of value if you keep saying them? She was like, she said, don't you think it would be more impactful? I mean, if you gonna cuss, she said, don't you think it'd be more impactful if you used it when you meant it? Messed me up. My mama said that. My mama also said, you got a fail on your report card. You know, you could have not went to school and got the same grade. Two things that messed me up for the rest of my life. She said, you could have not went to school and got the same grade. She didn't yell, and I felt worse, right? So, man, shout out to moms and uncles who have those conversations and say it in a way where we don't feel like it's being judgmental on us, but we understand it from their POV because they're giving it to us in a way that makes us really think about switching gears. So, you got that experience, you had that conversation, and you switch gears. What was sort of the reaction from your peers and the folks who were already like understanding just how the culture is?
Well, to be honest, I'm pretty much introverted as is. I may have a
Mhm.
couple friends here and there, but I mean, they supported it. It was kind of more of a like for me, it was more of in alignment to my spiritual journey. This is why I brought up the Bible
Right.
stuff from earlier, but it was like I couldn't do that without addressing the music part. It's like I felt like that half of me, that part that I loved, I couldn't just leave that part out and then say, well, yeah, I'm gonna change here and I'm gonna do this better and I'm gonna work on this. But then over here, I'm still reckless and the things that I say have no
Yes.
meaning and I'm
Yes.
just,
That's a whole word right
so
there. Yeah.
right. So I had to align the two and that's what eventually brought me to that point. But I think in my personal opinion, I believe that we all have a purpose.
Yeah.
And every single thing that we do and say has meaning, whether we know it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's so important to self-reflect and understand that how one person may take what you said, another person will take it totally differently.
Completely
And
different.
depending on who you're telling it to and who you're saying it to, it may cause them to either jump off the bridge
Mm-hmm.
or to keep pushing. So that's what I mean when I say every word, every bar counts for me. Like I take into consideration every bar because I don't want to say something that I meant for good and it turns it bad for someone else.
Yeah.
And so that's how I approach it.
Man, awesome points, and I really appreciate you taking the time to articulate that, man, because I think that a lot of folks will see themselves in your story. I know for damn sure I do. Just hearing the pivot and taking that leap of faith into something that you're like, well, it ain't a whole lot of examples of what I'm trying to be, but
Right.
that's kind of the point, is that, well, there can only be a first you. There can only be a first you.
Right.
And if you don't step up and at least try to make that happen, then we just kind of fall into the same pattern over and over and over again. But I'm so glad that we're having at least the conversation, because one of the most annoying things, man, when someone that you admire passes away, that happens to be an artist or a producer, the most annoying thing is we need to talk about mental health. We need to talk about mental health. And this is no shot to anybody in here who said that. I know that y'all mean well in here, but people say that we need to talk about mental health. We need to talk about mental health. It's ironic to see the people that say that. You go down their timeline, and all it is a celebration of all the things, all people's worst mental health moments. Look at her acting crazy. Look at her acting like a Karen. Look at her da-da-da-da. Look at her da-da-da. And it's like, at some point, when do we take the accountability, as I believe Touchtone said? When do we take the accountability and say, wait a minute, wait. Have I got all my chickens in a row? Have I taken care of my house? Have I cleaned my house before I try to get out here and try to clean everything else going on? Because I mean, as corny as it sounds, the change does start with us, right? It's always interesting to hear, but I want to ask you this question, two more questions actually. One more being, what do you think can break the cycle for other folks? You saw what broke a cycle with you that made you want to go and pivot in a different way. What do you think can break the cycle for, in a more general sense, for those who are like at the crossroads right now?
I think for me, and I think for other people, it has to be voluntary. Meaning, if you want the change, you have to kind of seek it out in a way.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready, then you're just not ready. But I think as far as what they can do, even if they aren't, I think the first step is to realize that everything has a reason. Nothing happens by accident. There's no like, it's not like lucky that you ended up in NFL and you ended up learning this. It's not luck.
No luck.
You're doing this on purpose. It's happening for a reason this way. You connected with that person for a reason. So it's first acknowledging that everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the second step of it is, okay, if everything happens for a reason, what's my reason?
Oh, that's heavy. That's heavy. That's heavy. That's heavy. Repeat that one more time.
Basically, essentially, everything has a reason. But the second part is, what is your reason?
What's your reason? So,
what is your reason?
For the folks that are out here right now, and I don't even want to just put all artists in the box and say just the younger artists, but for artists in general who are like, I hear you, and I would love nothing more than to talk about the things that are authentic to my life, but I gotta eat, right? And people are buying into a certain type of music or a certain type of culture within music, and I would love to pivot, but I don't know what that looks like on the other side. What words of encouragement would you give for them, for those who are even open to the idea of pivoting and making that shift to be that difference?
I would say that get ready to lose a lot of peers and a lot of friends. I would also say it's a lonely journey because the reality is very few of us that are willing to make the change.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be willing to be the pioneer, which is a sacrifice putting yourself to not fit in with the crowd. And that's what I say. Be encouraged that there are platforms like your platform, the people in the DIY community. Be encouraged by these type of environments and these type of communities that promote it, because there aren't many of them. And you know, if you have an opportunity to get in the DIY community, get in it. It's a loving community. It's just different than any experience I've ever had on the internet, to be completely honest. Right. Because it's just, when you're doing this, when you're doing the DIY thing, you attract so much negative energy because everybody's out to get you.
Yeah.
Because you refuse to do what the system says do. You refuse to make the music that the system says make. Yeah. And so you just have to keep that in mind.
Man, Law, I appreciate you just in general, just for being always a positive energy in this environment, for always being a supportive energy. I can remember very far back, man, seeing your name, seeing the profile picture and all this, just knowing that every time I see you come in here, it's been consistent energy. And that's something that I can't be more grateful for. There is no community like the one we have without individuals like you. And so I'm grateful for your time. I'm grateful for your words today. Man, yeah. You said a few things that got my brain already like, oh man, yeah. It's a reminder too, bro. And I'm gonna talk to the audience for a little bit at the end of this, but it's a reminder. And I want to say this what you want to hear. The reason why you see me kind of ramp up on this DIY conversation is because I think I finally saw my value. Not the value in a sense of what it means to a YouTube community or a producer community. I saw my value in a sense of, damn, I've been living my whole career looking in the window at the folks who are having a party, right? The most popular artists, the most popular producers, and looking in there and trying to see, oh, what are they doing? And there was many times, I should say, many times that I was invited in the house and I looked around and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And then you get in one of the rooms, you're like, oh, yeah, this ain't for me. I'm going to go back outside. But there's still a part of you because of the culture that we live in society, not just hip hop, where between the Vlad TVs, the media takeouts, no matter if you stay away from that, the mainstream music culture, somehow you're brought into it. Twitter, trending topics. So it's like there's a part of me that was always having this eye to what's going on. Obviously, opportunities that came through in the industry where it's like, you want to work with this person, it's really easy to make it happen. And I just had to get to a point where I was like, what if we are what we think they are for us, where we're at? Does that make sense? Like, what if we are what we think they're supposed to be for us? We look up to them, we admire them, we think that they're larger than life figures. What if that is us in the space that we're at? But we've been told a certain thing by society about, you're not relevant if you don't have these type of things. You're not this, you're not that, you're not worthy, you're not. We've been told all these things, and we've been kind of like that becomes a part of our psyche. Like, oh, if I'm independent, it means I don't matter to a mainstream audience. And that's not the case at all. But we've been told that in a lot of different ways. And even like you'll get like family members that'll be like, oh, you make music. And I remember my little cousins one time, they were little babies at the time. They was like, oh, you rap? You still rap? I was like, yeah. They were like, oh, you on BET? Like, where your chain at? You know what I'm saying? Where your car at? Like, you ain't got no Lambo or nothing? Like, that was their mentality. And I was like, a lot of that has to do with the very culture and really the programming, man, the programming. And I think that that's where communities like this, conversations like this, I always say it's like a break in the matrix. It's like a crack in the matrix, because you're not supposed to have these kind of conversations amongst even this amount of people so openly, because it's like, shut up and just, go according to the plan. Like, why are you trying to switch things up? Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Shut up and rap.
Shut up and man, if that ain't it's crazy, because somebody, man, my own folks, bro. Somebody told me that this week. They was like, man, could you please get off of this deep guy motivation stuff? And I was just like, he's like, I've been following him for 5 years. He's like, you're not that. He's like, you share your whole life. You're not this deep thinking guy. And I was like, wow, like, shut up and produce didn't come from somebody who was an anchor man or anchor woman. It came from somebody who was right within our culture and understands, you would hope to a certain degree, the importance of the mental health aspect, the importance of staying motivated and inspired. So you give us reminders, you give me reminder of the worth in what we're doing, man. So I appreciate you, family. I appreciate you, Law, and look forward to more conversations with you, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. All right.
All right.
Man, ladies and gentlemen, that was Law once again. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to end this off in a few minutes. I want to say thank you to everybody who not only contributed to the conversation, but for everybody that left comments. I was kind of looking down at the commentary, but something I usually do is I'll go back afterwards and kind of see what the conversation is. I'm so glad to see so many of you in here in such an important conversation. That makes me really excited and really happy about doing more things like this in the future. Community Gems is something that is all about y'all. Y'all brought the gems. And I know there's so many more of you out there that have things that you want to contribute to the conversation. I want to make sure that I provide the platform for you to do something, say something that can spark a change in somebody else. And I feel like a lot of things were said today. I don't know what the ripple effect of it is, but I know a lot of things were said today, at least for me alone, that got me thinking a certain way about certain things. So much love to you all. John David, Courtney, Cutter Morris, Ghost Sosa, Tyra, what's going on, sis? Viral Beats. B.A. Mac, Colin. No, I gotta actually pop up out of here. Who's this right here? Who's this right here? Who's this right here? Who's this popping in here? Somebody's randomly popped in here right now. So, who's this? Talk to me. Maybe they didn't think they was gonna get on. Hello?
Hi, Curtis.
What's going on? Who's this?
How you doing, man? It's Soulful.
Soulful. Okay, how you doing, fam?
Man, I'm great, man. I just saw Busy Works Beats, Game. He posted you in there saying to call in the show.
Okay.
Yeah, all good things. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
This is something
Thank
you want
you
to
for having me.
Of course, is something you want to contribute to the conversation?
Oh, sorry. I'm actually lacking context here. It's my mistake.
Yeah, no worries. And you're also lacking a conversation here. So, shout out to y'all. Once again, I thank you so much for being in here. Great conversation, great dialogue. We'll continue it on another time. I got to go get a haircut. You can't make this stuff up, man. You can't make this stuff up. God bless y'all. I appreciate every single one of you. You notice the weird stuff happens when we have something that's successful? It's not weird. It's odd to me. That's weird, man. Anyways, we love hip hop. We do what we do, and we're gonna continue to do what we do. Thank y'all so much, man. Until the next Community Gems conversation. Let me know some topics that you want to hear. I'll probably put up a poll in the commentary, or the community post, I should say. Let me know what you want to talk about. We have a lot of topics in this culture that we love that need to be addressed. So let's get to it. Much love to you. Y'all have an amazing night. Wish my Lakers good luck because they're going to need it tonight. Jeez Louise. I love y'all. Love the culture. Peace.